Hello, it's Jamie with Soul Heart Entertainment here. I'm going to, adjust my light because it's being weird. It's like only lighting up half of me. Or at least that's what it looks like on my phone. Maybe that's not how it looks in the in the image. All right, well, hopefully the light is working well, and hopefully you can see me okay and it's not like dark from here down. So weird, so weird. So we do live tarot readings every Tuesday, and if you are just joining us, okay, great, thank you, honey. He's saying it looks fine. If you're just joining us for tarot reading, you can look up past tarot reading lives using the hashtag ToesDay, ToesDay. So that is how that works. A little plug for the past tarot readings. Okay, so let's go ahead. Nice airplane. It's yours, babe. I know you know that. I like my rocks by it. That's what I like. Anyway, so let's get to it. On ToesDay all month long, all September long, we're talking about our destiny, our destined path, and that shows up on our big toe, and it shows ways that we're maybe holding ourselves back from completing that destined path that we're here to complete. And if we don't complete it during this lifetime, we will be repeating, or we will be coming back, or at least that's my belief. And even if we don't come back, it's still something that, hey Simon, thanks for joining. Even if we're not here by way of another lifetime, so to speak, even if that's not a reality or a truth for you, it's one of the ways that it shows up is through, I completely and totally lost my train of thought, so you'll have to forgive me. Never mind, reset. So we're talking about tarot reading today. And if you don't already know this, tarot reading is this idea that our stories, the stories that we hold in our minds, in our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, show up in the ways that our toes show up. So it's pretty exciting to be able to see physically the manifestation of some of our thoughts, and more specifically, thoughts that are subconscious, so they're not really obvious to us. I mean, I think that it's pretty safe to say that we know what our conscious beliefs are, and we know what we want to achieve in life, and where the two don't match well, we struggle. So getting the conscious beliefs and the subconscious beliefs to be in alignment with each other, I think that that's what most people in the metaphysical world are talking about when they talk about coming into alignment with your spirit. So one of the things about tarot reading that's really exciting for me is that it physically shows up in our bodies, and the toes are a map of what our subconscious beliefs are trying to tell us. So it helps me a lot when it comes to pushing past some of the stops that I have in my own life. And believe me, there are many, and I am always working on pushing past some of those things. So if you too are working on it still, welcome to the club. Okay, so we'll start with a little bit of the tarot reading, the map of the tarot reading, just so that you have an idea of what tarot reading is all about. Our left foot is our yin foot, or our internal self. Our right foot is our yang foot, or our external self. And each of the toes represent something different, and they represent that something different on both sides. But naturally, the ether toe, for example, or our big toe, our destined path toe, is on the left foot is going to be all about our internal self in relation to the big picture in our life. Our right foot is going to represent that external self, or how we show up in the world involving our big picture or our destiny. The air toe is about communication. The fire toe is about temperament or action. The water toe is about how we go with the flow, which has to do with how we conduct our relationships in our lives. So it's all about the relationships. And it's the water toe and how we go with the flow, partly because it's, when what we resist persists. I know that that's a pretty common phrase and a pretty common belief. And when we resist it, or when we're struggling with it, it's something that's an underlying belief system that's not allowing us to be comfortable in whatever it is that we want to achieve, especially in involving relationships. So I stop there, because I know that anybody who struggles with destined path stuff almost always has relationship stuff related to it. So just keep that in mind. The last toe is the baby toe. It's the earth toe, and it's the only toe that's really different from foot to foot. So on the right side, or our external self side, it's about our prosperity and abundance, or how we view that. And on our left side, it's about our faith and trust, and how we come across as knowing or not knowing that things are for us or against us, or whatever in relation to our faith and trust. That will show up on your left baby toe. Now, every once in a very long while, we come across somebody who's a true left-handed person. And in that scenario, and I don't mean just because you write with your left hand, it only shows up reversed when you're truly a left-hander. So if you hit golf clubs with your left hand, and write with your left hand, and use the TV remote with your left hand, and cook with your left hand, etc., 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 that's a true left-handed person. In our society, there's kind of a gray area with left-handed people, because there's not a whole lot of left-handed things, because the mass majority is right-handed. So we are definitely, we definitely gear ourselves toward right-handed folks. So when we're talking about toe reading, that yin versus yang could be reversed for people who are true left-handed people. So just keep that in mind in the event that you know somebody who has a true left-handed experience in their life. The toe reading map might be slightly reversed for you, just FYI. So one of the things that I've been experiencing in life a lot in the last, let's say, 6 months, specifically related to the quarantine, is the idea that we all have a vibrational map, right? And when we're in places that don't really serve our highest purpose path, like shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, despair, anger, maybe pride, those are kind of the lower spectrum of vibrational living. And when we're living in places like courage or neutrality or willingness or acceptance, we're getting up into higher vibrational living. And in the transition from going from a lower vibration to a higher vibration, inevitably you're going to come across challenges. You're going to come across things that are in the lower vibrations that are currently in your life that don't feel good anymore, because you're elevating to a different level of vibrating and a different level of attraction. So that attraction kind of switches things up and makes some stuff super, super uncomfortable. So if you have things going on in your life that are super, super uncomfortable, maybe one of the ways that you can view it is that this is an opportunity to elevate your vibrational being, and in doing so, you're likely to need to reevaluate the people that you're hanging out with. Are they of the vibration that you want to be living at? The family members that kind of push your buttons, or challenge you in ways that don't feel good to this new vibrational way of living. And it's kind of ethereal as far as the conversation around vibration and all that kind of good stuff. But if you start to notice, it really, really becomes super, super clear when things are working really well for you versus when things are not working very well for you. So, hey Sam, thanks for joining. So let's get into a little bit of toe reading, and we're talking about our big toe, which is all about our destined path in life. Okay, so I have an example here. This is, there are three things I want to point out about these big toes, okay? So the first thing is that if you notice, I'm gonna hold it super, super close to my camera and hope that it shows up well. There's kind of a little red patch right there. And while I have it up here, I'm going to show you the other two things I'm going to talk about. One is the length and the width of these toenails, of these big toenails. And then finally, if you notice on this foot, there is, and I don't know if the camera is going to get too blurry, but there's a little, what we call in the metaphysical world, we call those angel kisses. It's just like it's a pigmentation that's different from the pigment around it. So with those three things in mind, it's really kind of cool to see what's going on here. So this is somebody who has a highly developed, so angel kisses, or different pigmentation from the surrounding pigmentation, is about intuition and connecting with higher self. So this is somebody who's really, really in tune with her higher self when it comes to the big picture in her life. And because it's on, if you divide her toe in half vertically, the side of the toe that is toward the big toe, or the side of the toe that is toward the baby toe, the big side that's toward the big toe is all about past thoughts, and everything to the baby toe side is all about future thoughts. So for this person, she is really, really good at evaluating things that happened in the past and creating an action plan around it, or a big picture imagination of what it could look like, right? So that's a really, really, really cool thing about her. The other thing about the length and the width of her toenail is that you can see that she has a longer toenails than the padding on her feet. And if you've tuned in before, oh, hi, Nicole, thanks for joining. If you've tuned in before, you know that long toenails, toenails that get past that padding on your foot, can cause our thoughts to kind of run away with us. That's one of the surefire ways to make your thoughts not feel out of control, is to trim your toenails back. So that's something I would suggest to her. What that ends up doing, or at least for me, what that ends up doing, is it ends up spinning my brain into this constant cycle of, yeah, I'm sure he was wound up tonight, wasn't he? Anyway, so with the nail going past the padding, for me, what that looks like is my thoughts, feelings, and emotions will run on what feels like a rabbit wheel, okay, or a mouse wheel. It's like I constantly have the same thing looping back and back and back and back to me. So it's so it feels really uncomfortable because it's not something that I can manage and release. It's something that keeps showing up. So one of the ways, I know it seems ridiculous, but you got to give it a try, to trim your nails back in order to get off that hamster wheel of the same thoughts coming back and back and back. The other thing that I was going to mention about these toes is right here. We have kind of a little bit of a reddening on the toe. Now, you might say that this is a shoe that's been rubbing her foot the wrong way, but isn't it interesting how it only rubbed one foot, not the other, right? So that kind of points out to me that it's not about the shoes. I mean, it's never really about the shoes. If you're blaming your shoes, you are choosing to wear those shoes. So where are you choosing to hurt yourself, right? Or rub yourself the wrong way in life? It's kind of a logical conclusion to jump to, right? But for this, because of where this shows up, if where the toe meets the foot is her birth in this lifetime, and the tip of the toe is where we are right now in this period in our lifetime, or in this lifetime, this shows up as needing to heal, or emotions coming to the surface around past life. And if you're not big into past life, it could be very close to DNA. So, we all have our great-great-grandmother's genes in us somewhere, somehow, some way. So maybe it's something that needs to be healed from that happened to her. And that's kind of how I view past life stuff is it's really the physical manifestation of our ancestors, right? So we are carrying whatever thoughts, feelings, and emotions they carried when they were alive, when they were using their DNA. So we're borrowing it. So we kind of get stuck with all the crap too, right? Anyway, so because it's on the destiny toe, I would definitely have her look at where, and this is the right foot in this particular photograph, I would have her look at where in her lifetime externally it's feeling uncomfortable, or things are kind of coming to the surface and, kind of in a heated way or a passionate way. It could be good, it could be bad. Generally, when it shows up on the feet as some sort of tenderness or a sore, I mean, it doesn't look exactly like a sore, but it looks like it's bubbling to the surface, but it ends up coming across as something that she's ready to release, okay? So it's bubbling to the surface so that it goes from our subconscious mind into our conscious mind. And when it's in our conscious mind, we can handle it so much better. We can process it, we can evaluate it, we can, use that logical brain that we're all so good at using, and it just helps us kind of release it, okay? So that's the second thing about the big toes that I was showing you pictures of. So then the third thing is this little mark on her left big toe, and I don't know if my camera can really see it, but there's a teeny tiny little, it looks like a freckle, really. But what's interesting is that freckle is underneath her toenail. So it's part of the skin pigmentation underneath her toenail. Now, whether it's permanent or not, it doesn't matter. If it's permanent, it's even more of an indication that she has this innate ability to intuit things, to connect to her spirit guides, to connect to God, to connect to her source energy, and use that to her benefit. If it's coming to me who this person is, which almost never happens to me. It happens to be my college roommate. And my college roommate and I did Ouija board for the first time ever together, and it was a scary, scary experience for us both. We both saw a reflection of somebody standing behind us, but it was in our TV. It was creepy. It was crazy creepy. So I don't know if she's done anything like that since, but I know it really freaked me out. So that's just confirmation to me that that she is super, super intuitive and highly gifted in her intuition and that spiritual level that allows her to connect to other worlds or other energies, right? Oh, hey, thank you so much for joining, Melissa. We are talking toe reading. I know you know all about toe reading. It's so fun. So we're talking about big picture. We're talking about destiny toes. So let's take a look at these destiny toes. I'm so glad you caught me live. So when I look at these toes, I don't know if you guys can tell, but the big toes are pretty significantly longer and taller, and they kind of stand up a lot more than the other toes. The other toes are kind of short. I like that they're all in alignment with each other, right? But that just tells me that this is somebody who has super, super big ideas. And what's really exciting to me is that this is somebody who follows their big ideas because their toes are coming straight off. There's no kind of bubbling up of the skin, or there's no, the tip of the toenail or tip of the toe isn't bigger than the rest of her toe. So she not only has really big ideas, but she follows through with them, which is really, really cool to see. That there's a significant space between her big toe and her communication toe. Now that could mean two things. One, on the really, really dark side, or when she's living in that not so positive energy within her life, she can be really self-centered and everything kind of revolves around her and that's it. And she doesn't want to hear your opinion and this is just how it is. She can get very closed-minded when it comes to that kind of stuff. But on the positive side, if she's living in that higher self energy, which I suspect she is because of how the rest of her toes show up pretty evenly, there's nothing in particular that just jumps out as far as super, super big challenges. It shows me that she's super, super open. Okay, so when the toes are spread, you're really, really open to all kinds of different energy and all kinds of different experiences life. And because it's the big toe that's kind of separate from that second toe, she is going to be somebody who's always going to be interested to hear what you have to say, and she's going to they're almost like baby toes. Baby toes come out looking really, really wide open, really, really, super excited to learn all the information that they can learn. So I have a feeling that this is somebody who is a seeker in their life and who looks to the people around them to learn everything that they could possibly learn. So because of that, she probably also changes her vision, if you will, of changes her groups, changes the people that she's hanging around fairly often because it's more exciting to her life to meet new people and go new places and experience new things. So that's one of the things that I will say about that person. I see there's a question here, but I'm not really sure what that's about, so I'm just going to ignore that. If you have any questions about toes or about toe reading, definitely ask them. Here's a good time to ask. And then I'll do one more before the evening is up, and let's choose a man. Okay, we don't often. Oops, sorry, that was my finger in your face. All right, so here we have some male feet, and looking at these big toes, you can kind of see how the toe comes straight off of the foot and then kind of veers outward, okay? So this is somebody who has a lot of big thoughts. He has nice, big, juicy, big toes. This is what we call that in toe reading. And there's there's a little bit of a holding back around following through with the big picture in this person. So you can see that because the toe turns off. It turns in a different direction. So, you know, it's kind of true with all the other toes also, is if they're coming straight forward and they start to, you know, turn one way or the other, there's somebody who will start big but not necessarily end big, if that makes sense. They'll be able to go, and then kind of like right at the tail end, they have a tendency to be quitters, right? Or to not have enough faith in themselves to be able to follow through with what their big ideas are. And in this particular case, we're talking big ideas. So we're talking about that big toe. Nicole said, so Aiden's toes are pretty closed and he hates them spread. Okay, so he's probably a little closed off. He's probably a little, I know you know whose toes these are. But anyway, with Aiden, one of the things that you can do is don't spread them for him, but allow him or show him how to spread them himself. So he's still pretty young, but he's been through quite a bit for a little guy, right? So, you know, because I know your story, I'm looking on the ground to see how I can show you, but it would be awkward. I'll send you a picture of it because what I do in order to get my feet to spread out a little bit, my baby toe and my relationship toe are really, really close together. And I want to get them a little bit further apart so that I'm a little bit more open to ideas and concepts that I may not otherwise be open to, and B, so that I have a little bit of independence. And independence in particular related to that, you know, that prosperity and abundance for one thing, and also related to that faith and trust, just so that it's, you know, when the toes are really close together, they relate very closely to each other. So with faith and trust and prosperity and abundance on both of my feet, they're very interconnected with each other. And I just want there to be just the tiniest little bit of separation so that I'm a little bit more open to some, you know, concepts and ideas. So with Aiden, what you're gonna wanna do is have him spread his own toes. And the only way, at least for me and showing my daughter, the only way is to do, you know, be the example you want to see in the world, right? With little kids, the more you do it in front of him and show him, like, look how cool it is that I can spread my toes, you know, he'll want to follow suit. Especially what spreading the toes will do is it will help him be able to see more around him, as far as different attitudes, different reasons, maybe open his mind up a little bit around some of the things that he's kind of closed off to. And when we close ourselves off from additional information, it has a tendency to be because we're in a state of fear or protection around it, right? So I don't know if you were on when I was talking about vibrational energy and vibrational living, but one of the things that happens when we're in a state, you know, in some of these lower states of vibration is which are anger, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, shame, kind of those lower, they're lower emotions that are domineering. They kind of have a tendency to be challenging to overcome when we're in that space. And I know, you know, I have been there, done that. So it can be very, very challenging to get to a place where you can feel neutrality, which is up here in the, you know, in the light blue zone, to get to a place where you have acceptance in that indigo zone, or love, kind of in that love and peace up in that purple zone. So one of the ways is to do things like paint your toes. If you're a color person, paint your toes, wear the higher vibrational colors. I know that as a kid, I don't think I ever wore anything except either rainbow or blue. So my entire wardrobe was kind of in that upper quadrant, which is really interesting to me now because my childhood was amazing and fantastic and something like you would write storybooks about. And then when I started trying to gain a little bit of independence, I would wear a lot of red and a lot of purple or a lot of oranges. And those are the colors that feel really comfortable to me because it feels like I have confidence. But what's interesting is that this color palette is almost opposite, not quite opposite, but it's almost opposite of what they tell you as far as what power colors are. So I'm always fascinated by color, and I haven't quite wrapped my head completely around it, but it's interesting to me, this vibrational living thing and trying to be in the higher vibrations of the world around you. And as we elevate, the people that are living in those lower vibrations don't feel good around us anymore. So I welcome you all to check yourself, check those feelings, follow the good feelings. If it feels good, let's bring more of that into your life. It feels good to go for a walk. It feels good to be in nature. It feels good to, I don't know, take a bath. I mean, those kind of things. It feels really amazing when we kind of take a little bit of extra time for ourselves, especially in the busy world that we're in, and especially since so many of us are kind of stuck at home, living off of our computer and probably working longer hours than we worked when we went to the office, probably, not setting healthy boundaries for ourselves. So I welcome you to set some healthy boundaries, do a little bit of self-care, and join us next week for ToesDay next week. And tomorrow, my family and I are headed to the beach, so I may pop on here live from the beach tomorrow. So if you want to see some beautiful beach sunsets, check it out. Hope you guys have a good day. Thank you so much for joining. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Jamie Allen Bishop with Soul Heart Entertainment. Bye for now.